I'm Garnet, this is Eggs. Time for the Mineral Town version of my family trees, which for the most part should be pretty straightforward. We're starting first with... There's a loud bug outside. We're starting first with Back to Nature, Friends of Mineral Town, A Wonderful Life, DS. This will probably be the most complicated part. I don't even know, I've got like question marks, because I don't even know what happens. I've got a lot less like actually written down besides the names, because I had a lot of notes for the flower bud version, but I just kind of slapped the names together and was like, alright, you'll know what to do. Depending on the version, for Pete, the old man is his grandpa in Back to Nature and just some random old man in Friends of Mineral Town. And for Girl in More Friends of Mineral Town, Claire never met the old man and isn't related to him. But the story is the same for everyone in the remake, so I listed them all in this, and he went back to being Grandpa in the remake, which I prefer. I'm not really sure why the Game Boy Advance version made him just some guy. Yeah, we have maybe Grandpa, we never see Grandma, Mom and Dad we never see, and then we got Pete, Claire, Yuto, Naomi. They have one child. I think that's... You don't ever have more than one child in any of those games. No idea what happens to get Pete and Claire in DS. There's always going to be a question mark between Mineral Town or Wonderful Life and DS. Because it doesn't make sense. Maybe I can try experimenting with it and just make up... I don't know. I can't think of a reason that isn't weird. I can't... For Mark and Pony, we know we have a dead dad. We never see the mom. I don't think she's spoken about at all. Maybe she's in the city, or she's dead. And they have Mark and Pony, who can only ever have one child. Don't know what happens. And then Mark, I guess Mark's bloodline just ends, or he results in a pony and can never result in a Mark after the DS time skip. Because there's never a Mark again. So this is the biggest one. Lilia and Rod have Potpourri and Rick. Sasha and Jeff have Karen. Marlon and Vesta are siblings. And Celia may or may not be distantly related to them. Even though, Marlon and Celia... I always understood it that she wasn't related. Even though, a lot of people... when their kids play the game, they do think they're related. I thought the opposite. I thought they weren't related, but maybe they're distantly related according to something I read on TV Tropes. And that's a little concerning. Potpourri and Kai get together. Rick and Karen get together. And then something happens and we end up with Ain, Arisa, Miku, Kari, and then Kari... So Karen and Serena, Celia are cousins somehow. And then there's also Ashu and Besu. Ash and Beth, I think, is how you would translate those for... Wow, Ash is really different from Marlon. Ellen marries some guy who's dead by now, and just like with the 64 one, she's got a dead kid and their dead spouse. Who have Ellie, but also Stu now. Ellie gets with Doctor, and that results in Erisu and Trent somehow. That's just... I'm just gonna be uncomfortable every time. I'm not getting over it. Doug and his dead wife have Anne and Cliff. I think his mom is dead. Isn't that it? I don't know what happened to the dad. I think his mom died and his sister moved away, and Cliff didn't have a family anymore because they left the town and he didn't know where they went, I think, is the deal with Cliff. So then Cliff and Anne result in Afi and Harifu. Saibara and his probably dead wife have someone who marries someone who has Gray. Anna and Basil have Mary. Gray and Mary somehow result in oh, it's purple. Alright, I forgot about that. I knew this before. Papuru, that's purple. Yeah, DS Gray is purple. We've got blue, gray, and purple. I love that. And Marivia for Mary. Ooh. Muffy and Griffin just somehow result in Moo and Garret? Garret? Is that a name? Nami can be paired with either Cody or Gustafa. Whichever way that goes, that results in Nausicaa, and then either Gusta or Gordy, basically. Yeah. Gordy. Yeah, he's Gordy. They gave him his DS name, didn't they? In the remake. So Flora and Carter, they don't have any known family members, so we just end up with Furen and Kine. Romana, for sure her husband's dead, she's old. And then her kid is definitely for sure dead. There was an accident and their spouse is dead. And then they had Lumina, Ruby, or Lou, and Tim, I think, have another child first before Rock, who is dead. I personally, that's my headcanon, because of the picture about how he looks nothing like Rock. Like, would him just dyeing his hair be enough of a difference for him to look nothing like him? Like, I think they had another son, and he's dead. I don't know if I think Rock is, like, adopted or not, but either way, I consider him, you know, the kid's brother. So Lumina and Rock. No. Yes. Lumina and Rock result in... They'd have to have Panama, which is Romana, and then somehow there's another set of dead parents. And also Rui, and missing Tim, and then there's Rihanna and Romeo. How many years actually pass? Also, there's no way to do this without being weird. Barley and probably a dead wife have Joanna, who has what does happen to Joanna's guy? Is he dead? Cause why wouldn't he be taking care of May? But anyway, they have May. And then, I don't know. I've talked about this before, Mason's family being extra confusing because he's kind of like May Jr. You know, the way like Furen is Flora Jr. and Curdy, and Mason's phone conversations, NDS. There's an old man mentioned, but also the shop was started by his grandmother, who would have to be May, right? So, who's the old man? The old man's probably just May's husband, who is not Barley. Alright, so I don't know who May's kid is, but she somehow results in Mason. Alright. Sorry. Alright, Duke and Mana have Asia. And that's that. We don't see the rest, the like regular Friends of Mineral Town characters in DS, so we can just maybe assume that there's clones of Duke and Mana and other characters like that existing at the same time in DS, but we don't see them, so I didn't put them on the list because I'm not overcomplicating this for no reason. Gotts and his dead wife have a daughter who also dies at the same time as the wife. They died in the mountains. It was snowstorm? Lewis has also a dead wife and a dead daughter, and he like bonds with Gotts over it, I think. Thomas probably has a dead wife, and they make Harris, and then somehow there is another Thomas down the line. Or he's immortal, because maybe he's the Harvest King. Oh, would Harris be immortal too, or did he watch his son die? Samantha and Grant have Kate, and then somewhere down the line there is a Samantha who is gone, she left, and there is Sarato, and Carrie? Carrie? Wally and Chris have Hugh, and then somehow we end up with Asuri, Yuria, and Shuren. I do not know what any of these names are supposed to be. Alright, Patrick and Casey. Is that Casey or Cassie? I think I've been confused about this before. But anyway, they end up with, how did they end up with anything? They are... I do not know who these guys get with, but they somehow both end up... How are they brothers and they end up, maybe one of them gets with someone, and then they make new twins? Because otherwise they would be like cousins or something, even further. They make a Passara and Kessara. So for characters like the Witch Princess and the Harvest Goddess and stuff, I just want to mention them the first time. So like when I cover other games, I won't want to bring up the Witch Princess again because we've already covered that. I'm not doing her every time she pops up, right? So the Witch Princess has a sibling. Don't know if the sibling's a guy or a girl. And they're with someone and they produce Witchkin or Witchy, depending on how they translate it. It's the same character. Witch Princess has her niece, who is not in these games. She's in, she starts in the Island games. Is she in both Island games or just one? But she's definitely in Story Seasons. She's in Story Seasons and in Trio of Towns. I don't know why I have Nina and Galen's families underneath the Witch Princess, but Nina and Galen somehow result in Anna and Gasuto. Alright, we only have one couple that doesn't have a family. Barney and Mimi from the circus. We've never seen them before. They don't have kids in DS. We never see them again. It's just them. They're the only ones because all the other ones that would just be placed in couples have weird, unexplainable families. Alright, and then yeah, I have this section titled as Weird Timeskip Family, which would otherwise be like completely alone options. But because DS exists, they can't be. So Gourmet ends up with Gourmet. Muku Muku ends up with Muku Muku. Takakura and Takakura. He's still just Takakura in DS. Daryl and Guriru. Is that correct? Hardy and Badagu. I'm sorry for anything that's pronounced real dumb. Murray and Murray, Sebastian, Van Bon, Carter and Curdy. That is my favorite. I made a video about it. You should watch that. And then actually completely alone, as far as I know, I don't think we've seen anyone related to them. The Harvest Goddess. I don't know if I would consider her related to Desi or not. Like, Desi is a goddess in training. I don't know if they're supposed to be related, but I put the goddess alone. The Harvest Sprites, I don't know when Harvest Sprites are like meant to be brothers or when they're just sprites. Oh well, okay, there will be Harvest Sprites later because there is specifically sibling ones at some point. But yeah, this is the only time I want to mention Harvest Sprites for a while. Da-chan is in both A Wonderful Life and DS, but I'm assuming it's probably the same one, right? Also, Muku Muku could be the same one. Leia, never seen a Leia before, never seen one again. Keira, Sky, same. And then I have a separate one for ones that weren't in DS and are completely alone. So Greg, Kano. Why did I put the talking tree? Juan, Zach, Kappa, Tartan, Brandon, and Jennifer. For Island of Happiness and Sunshine Islands, I mess up which one has the S all the time. Mark or Chelsea, or Mark and Chelsea, depending on who they get with, have one child. Lana and Denny have Ross. Taro and someone who's probably dead have Felicia. Felicia and someone who's probably dead have Natalie and Elliot. Mirabelle and someone who is probably dead have Julia. And then Pierre comes from the Gourmet family, don't really know how that's set up. And then, let's see, yeah. Pierre and Natalie have John. And Elliot and Julia have Kelly. Regis and someone who's probably dead have Sabrina. And then Regis must have a sibling. Don't know what's going on with them and their spouse, but they have Will. So then Will and Sabrina are cousins. And then Sabrina and Vaughn have Emma. Wada and somebody probably dead have Shay. And then other families, Chen and someone probably dead have Charlie, Gannon and someone probably dead have Eliza. There are no just couples. And then completely alone, let's see, Alyssa, Nathan, and Lily. For Grand Bazaar, I'm using the old names because that's just how I wrote them. And I'm hoping there aren't any new characters that I'm missing on here. I made sure to add the new marriage candidates. I started this a while ago. For Hansel and Gretel, we're probably gonna get, are we gonna get like actual names, not fan names for these two, I wonder? But whoever they marry, they have one child. Daisy Or Maple. Maple is actually kind of a different character from Daisy, but she took her place. So Maple, I know Daisy for sure has 8 siblings. I don't know if we'll have that be the same for Maple or not. And I kind of like to consider Maple one of the siblings just because it makes things fit the way I like. Anyway, Daisy or Maple end up with Angelo, and there are no rival children. So I don't think we have any more rival children for the rest of these, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think we're done with those. Claude, and I don't remember what the deal is with his wife. I don't know if she was supposed to be dead or if she's doing something. They have Antoinette. Ivan and Dirk are brothers, and both of their parents are dead because Ivan pretty much raised Dirk. And then Antoinette and Dirk get together, and Ivan and Freya get together, and Freya doesn't have a family that we know of. Felix and his dead wife have Sherry, who gets with Lloyd, and Lloyd doesn't really have another family. Amir has a sister. We know that, and I think his dad is spoken about, but I don't think his mom was spoken about. Joan and Someone Probably Dead have a child, and them and their spouse have Marion, and I think I'm pretty sure they're both alive because they try to set Marion up with guys after Marion got left at the altar. And so she refuses to get married. That's why she's not a bachelorette. Nellie and Isaac have Cindy and Lauren. Claire and Wilbur have Kevin. Stuart and Ethel have a son, but he's not around. I don't know if he's married or has kids, but Stuart and Ethel also kind of see Daisy as their granddaughter, but they're not actually related. Raul, Enrique, and Diego are brothers. There are no just couples. And then completely alone, we have Emiko, Diana, and Arata. Tale of Two Towns. Philip and Lillian get with whoever and have one child. Howard and his... she's dead, right? Yeah, Howard and his dead wife, I think. Or maybe I just... Yeah, Howard and his probably dead wife have Lainey. There aren't even rivals. Grady and Someone Probably Dead have Georgia. Jessica and Someone Probably Dead have Ash and Cheryl. Gombe and his dead wife have someone and someone else who are probably both dead because he has Nori with him, his granddaughter. Mako has a sibling who has a spouse, and they have Reina, so Mako's Reina's uncle. Kana talks about his dad. He does not talk about his mom, and his dad is never seen. Hiro also talks about his dad and not his mom, and his dad was a doctor. Ina specifically has a dead husband. I remember sure that he is dead. And they have Rahi. Yoon and Someone Probably Dead have someone, and they have a spouse, and both of them are alive because they sent their daughter Ying to the country for her health. And then just couples, we've got, I do not know how to say that guy's name, Rutger and Rose. And then for Completely Alone, we have Cam, the Oracle, she has a name, Ulissa? Another name I don't know. Damn, I'm getting tortured over here. Mikhail, Eileen, Ayame, and Shang. A New Beginning! Alright, so we're Henry or Rachel, and our dad is spoken about, but our mom is not. I think it's mentioned that Dunhill knew our parents, and I think he specifically talked about us resembling our dad. And then we have one child. Tina talks about having 6 younger sisters and brothers. I think her mom and dad are both mentioned, but never shown. Iroha is same. She talks about her parents, but we don't see them, and she has 3 brothers. Felicity, I think they talk about their parents a lot, but we don't meet freaking anyone. But she also has a sister that we don't see. And then Emma and someone that we never see, probably dead or something, has Yuri. Neil talks about his parents, but we don't see them. Alan talks about his mom and his sister, but I don't think he talks about his dad, because he did their hair. He did his mom and sister's hair. That's why he talks about them. Man, we really like giving them siblings in here, but never showing them. For other families, Aaron and Alice are sprites, and they're specifically brother and sister. Camellia and Charles have Hina. Hassan and Someone Probably Dead have Nico. Actually, is she specifically dead? I think she might be specifically dead. I don't remember. Clement and Someone Probably Dead have a daughter that we never see. Rebecca and somebody has Tony. Hana and Kosaburo, they don't have kids, but Kosaburo has Why am I confused about the amount in my notes? I put 4 or 5 brothers. Why don't I know which one it is? And then for couples, you got Olivia has a fiance that we never see, and it's really frustrating because she's very pretty. Why do they do this? And then Completely Alone, Michelle, Rod, Soski, Sanjay, Dunhill, Klaus, and Sandra. Sometimes I forget Sandra exists. She's such a weird character. Story seasons! Johnny or Annie have twins, a son and a daughter. Elise has an older sister, and her dad is spoken about. I don't know about her mom. Maurice and someone have Lily and Melanie. Agate, is that how you say her name? She talks about her parents. My goodness, I put her full name. Laurel Veronica Pearson has a dead husband, and they have Angela Pearson. I had to write their full names. Iris and Mistel's parents are dead? Right? Because doesn't she raise Mistel? Rager? He has a dead grandpa that is specifically mentioned, and his grandma and parents are not mentioned. Ina has a dead husband, and they had a son, and whoever his son married, they had a grandson. And it's just horrible that he never that her son and grandson both never come around. Why didn't we just play the game as her grandkid? Why did they have to do this and make it so sad? Jonas and Margot have Lutz. And then just couples, we've got Corona and Gunther, Giorgio and his fiance that we don't see, and Marion and his boyfriend that we don't see. Completely Alone, Desi shows up for the first time here. Fritz, Klaus, Otmar, Del Casa, Matsuba, Saffron, and Wufio. Trio of Towns, one of my favorites. Oh, we actually have like a family. Daryl has his brother Frank, and Daryl marries Marlena, and they have us, either Henry or Holly, and also Lynn, our sister, our little sister. I love that we have a little sister. That's so cute. Lisette talks about her parents. She's very spoiled, but also very lonely. Wayne, his grandparents are both dead, and his parents are both alive, and they travel. So he doesn't talk to his parents much. He just like writes notes back and forth. That's why he's a postman, because he can communicate with his parents that way and still not feel like he's like not close to them. Man, the parent situations are making me sad. Ford, I didn't write down the details. I wrote bad mom and bad dad because you don't hear anything good about his parents. They're apparently messy and were too strict and, you know, put high expectations on him. And that's why Ford is the way that he is. Alright, so Ginjiro has a wife who is always traveling, so she's not around, and they have Komari. I wrote sexist dad and nice mom for Kasumi. I don't remember. Why didn't I write more notes? So Hinata has a bunch of siblings, and I think I tried to put them in order of age. Izumo, Yakumo, Hinata, Toya, Koya, Chizuru. Is that what I did? Omio and Umekichi have a daughter, and she and her husband have Yuzuki and his brother. He has a younger brother. So they pretty much, since Yuzuki was sick, they sent him to live with his grandparents, and he got better. But yeah, they didn't take him back, and they didn't come to be with him, and they just had his brother, and he never gets to meet his brother. So essentially, they replaced him. They replaced their sick kid, is how I see it. I'm just not happy with the parent situation. And then, Iluka and Silica are sisters, twins. Tototara and Someone Probably Dead have their kid and their spouse who are probably dead. I think, I don't know. But, yeah, they have Ludus. Other families, Megan and Someone Probably Dead because she's old, have Hector, and then his wife is for sure dead, and he's, like, traumatized by it. And they have Colin, who's so sweet. Colin's so sweet. Hector's sweet, too. Miranda, and I know the guy that she had Noelle with is alive, I think. I know, and then I think. I don't think she was married to him. Marco and Someone Probably Dead have their kid, and then they have their spouse, who are never, I don't think they talk about them. They have Brad, and he marries Carrie. Shizu and Itatsu have Tatsumi and Yoichi. I somehow scrolled past an entire family. I had them there and I just didn't even notice them. Might as well, because I don't know how to say any of their names. But Kaolila and Zahao have Shulk and Alma. I'm a little more confident in the children's. Halani and his dead wife have, I think, a daughter. I put daughter. I didn't just put question marks. I must know that to some extent. But I put a question mark after daughter. And then she has Tigray. Mithra has a daughter, don't know who with. It's not Lotus. When I first saw Mithra and Lotus, I thought maybe they'd be like a couple. But she has a daughter with someone else. Did I put that Saffron has a husband? Saffron has a husband. Now in Completely Alone, we've got Inari. Inari does mention a teacher, but I don't think they're related. Stephanie, Hidokasa Matsuba, I already did that. Moria is Completely Alone. He had an ex. Okay, so Moria had. I should have put his ex-fiance. I should put him in couple. But he had an ex-fiance who stole his stuff and left with another man. And Omio reminds him of her. And then Sumomo. I really want to know what's going on. Why is she just a child alone? Lotus, Ethan, Horatio. Pioneers of Olive Town. We have a grandpa, and then probably have a dead grandma. Our parents aren't really spoken about. And then we are Ollie or Edgy or Yuka. And then we and our spouse have one child. Sydney and Norman have Laura. Sally and Jason have Blair and Mikey. I forget again. Damn it, I forget again how to say his name. The flower shop guy and his probably dead wife have someone, and they marry someone, and they have Lean. Patricia and George have Bridget and Damon. Simon and Jesse have Angela, and then she marries someone who is not spoken about at all. I don't know if they're dead. And they have Jack and Cindy. Manuela and Marcos have Emilio, and Raul is somehow related to them, but it's never actually clear how, so I just kind of put him as if he's Emilio's cousin with how I mark them, but it's really never specified, I don't think. Nigel and somebody might be dead have Ralph. Other families, Victor and Gloria, have Jacopo. Clemens and Lars are brothers, and Lars is with Beth. Completely Alone, we got The Spirit, Reina, Iori, Matsuyuki, Dotetsu, Misaki, Jean, I'm gonna say that name is, Karina, and Lavette. I could have sworn that Jean had a line that said that she had an aunt with your name. So maybe she has an aunt. I'll have to start the game over and meet her again and see if she says it. So that's that. We might revisit the family tree idea to mess with things for both Flower Bud and Mineral Town. Maybe I'll combine them. I don't know. We might play with it. But that's it. That's it for me trying to be serious and showing you what should be more or less canon. Don't forget to comment, tell me what you think. Feel free to ask for clarifications if I said something weird. I probably did. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!